Minister, I welcome the BIA scheme and commend all involved in getting the funding to make it permanent. This is genuinely progressive policy and is especially important to County Clare, where a rich arts tradition from traditional music to visual arts and literature. Can I ask for an update on the application process, a breakdown by county, and to outline how rural counties like Clare will be treated equally when faced with other more populous counties and urban centres?
Thank you very much, Deputy Cooney, for your question this morning, and indeed for your support for the basic income for the arts scheme. The main objective of the scheme, of course, is to support professional artists whose creative practice is based in Ireland. And the basic income for artists scheme will provide 2,000 artists with a weekly payment of €325 for a period of 3 years. There has been significant international interest in the scheme, which clearly illustrates the value Ireland places on art and our artists here at home. Indeed, when it comes to the arts, Ireland as a small country punches well above our weight across film, music and literature, and this is in part due to the sustained investment in professional artistic practice. Funding for the arts through the Arts Council, Screen Ireland and Culture Ireland is at the highest ever level in the history of the state. In February, the government agreed to making the basic income then for the arts scheme permanent, as you know, which was a major milestone for the arts in Ireland, and research conducted by the department provided government with a clear evidence base upon which to make that decision. The research clearly demonstrated both how precarious and difficult it is to be an artist, and also demonstrated the positive benefits for society, as we are all very much aware of, as a whole, if we invest in our artists. The pilot scheme was underpinned by a robust research project consisting of a randomised controlled trial with a treatment group of 2,000 and a control group of 1,000. The research element will continue in the successor scheme. An independent cost-benefit analysis of the pilot published in late last year shows that the scheme produced over €100 million in social and economic benefits for every €1 of public money invested in the pilot. And society received, for every €1 society received, that was invested, society received €1.39 in return. The net cost of the basic income for the artists pilot went from €105 million to under €72 million due to tax generated and savings on social welfare payments. Late last year, the department conducted a public consultation into the basic income for the artists scheme. This consultation received over 17,000 submissions, with 97% of respondents in favour of making the scheme permanent, showing very much the value of the scheme and how it's appreciated not only by those in the arts sector but also by society at large. With an allocation of €18.27 million for this year, the department will be in a position to fund 2,000 artists. At the launch in February, Minister Donovan stated that over time he would like to expand the scheme beyond 2,000 artists should more funding become available in future budget cycles. We've seen strong demand for the scheme, with approximately 10,000 applications submitted. Under the pilot scheme, we saw over 9,000 applications being received. Participants are selected using an anonymous random selection process, and this is considered the fairest selection process where there's not enough funding to provide the scheme to all eligible participants and applicants. All applicants had to complete a comprehensive survey at the time of their application, and those who will receive the payment will provide data on an ongoing basis. The applications submitted show that there is a great variety in the Irish arts sector today. A diversity of arts practices, ages and geographical distribution is visible, and the data collected as part of the application is very much a snapshot of the sector in 2026 and will be as well a really strong resource for the department in terms of developing future policy for the arts. A report setting out this data will be published as well in due course, and the department, Concorla, has begun eligibility assessments, which will continue throughout the summer. And given the volume of applications, it's difficult to be precise about the date applicants will be informed, but it will certainly be September at the earliest. The first payment to selected recipients will be made before the end of this year and will be backdated to September 2026 if that's necessary. Compliance with eligibility will be continuously recorded and assessed throughout the time a recipient receives the payment, and all successful participants will need to register with Revenue as self-employed and pay Schedule D income tax where appropriate on the basic income for the artist scheme. This is a groundbreaking support, I think, which you will recognise, and you do recognise, Deputy Cooney, and will be is very significant for the arts in our country, making us very much a world leader in how we're supporting our artists and culture. It will also help to sustain the careers of those artists who will receive it and retain their talent in the arts sector. Applications were received from every county in the country, and the county breakdown for applications will be sent separately to you, Deputy, as well.
Will rural counties like Clare receive equal share of the BIA scheme? The randomised selection model is fair in principle. It ensures that no bias in individual selections. But fairness in process is not the same as the equality of outcome. Clare has a proud professional art community, but artists in rural counties often lack access to institutional networks, residence and funding bodies that provide the proof of professional practice needed for the scheme. The structural disadvantage is real. It will result in the pool of eligible applicants being delivered towards urban centres with large populations. Therefore, a random draw will still produce an urban-heavy result. Minister, how is this structural issue going to be resolved?
Deputy Roderick McCormick.
Very much, Last Count Corla. And Minister, I think over 10,000 people made applications for this particular round of the scheme, of the successor to the basic income for the artist scheme. Your department is only in position to support about 20% of them, so that's only just over 2,000 artists will be supported, and the other 80% will be left disappointed. And that's about a similar level of I suppose, disappointed applicants as we saw in the original scheme, the original pilot scheme that was launched by the then Minister Catherine Martin. So I suppose it is disappointing to see that this scheme isn't growing. It's disappointing to see that. And look, we welcome at the time that there is another round of funding coming for 3 years, but the fact that that isn't growing, the fact that more artists aren't being supported, that more artists aren't able to enjoy the very real benefits of this scheme that were charted by the research that was undertaken is something that I think is a letdown, and I know many artists in the sector feel let down as well. Minister, you referenced that there will be continuing research undertaken of the impact of the financial support on this second group of artists who receive it. Could you tell us a little bit more detail about what actually is being measured, what actually is being examined? Is it kind of the same thing as was the first time, or are other benefits of this scheme being considered? And secondly, Minister, has consideration been given to putting the basic income for the arts scheme on a statutory footing, that there would be real certainty that this scheme is now an established part of the state's support for the artistic community?
Sully.
And it's good to hear that progress is being made, and that you expect at some stage, probably in October by the sounds of it, that the scheme will start, but that will be backdated to the September, so that 2,000 more artists will benefit from a basic income, and hopefully will help them in their output and their endeavours, their artistic endeavours. And it's to try and ensure that others in the future can benefit, and that this is a rollover. You mentioned that the 18 million had been set aside for this year. That seems to suggest that if it doesn't start till the end of September, or is not backdated to the end of September, there may be an outfall or a surplus. Is that expected to be spent in this year, or will it be rolled into the budget for next year's basic income?
Minister.
Taking Deputy Snoddy's question first. So, listen, the budget is allocated for this year. It's allocated to be able to pay 2,000 applicants from September onwards. And while every effort is being made to get people early decisions, the payment will be backdated to September, so nobody will lose out by virtue of the fact, financially, by virtue of the fact that there's any delay in being approved. So, thus, the budget will be utilised by the end of this year. And listen to Deputy O'Gorman in relation to the scheme and its permanence. First of all, I recognise previous Minister Catherine Martin and her initiative in relation to establishing the pilot. I do think this government have progressed and built on that. We have made it permanent. We've been clear that this is going to be a permanent scheme going forward. I don't believe it needs to be on a statutory basis for it to be a permanent scheme. We've been clear from a policy point of view and indeed from a budgetary point of view that it's something that will be continued. In terms of the Pacific research, Deputy O'Gorman, that will continue to be carried out, I will get you a further response specifically on what is being measured there and how it compares as well to the previous research, which was very significant, as I said, and having a treatment group of the 2,000 who were in the scheme and a control group of 1,000 who was outside of it. So that was a very significant piece of research and important in relation to seeing the scheme become permanent and be built upon. In relation to more participants, obviously that's something we've indicated we'd like to be able to do, but it is going to be budgetary dependent. This is a very significant step forward now, making it permanent and making sure that new artists and more artists are able to participate in it and to have an opportunity to avail of it. And to Deputy Cooney, I know this is something you've advocated for very strongly in relation to your own county. The plan is in relation to choosing the participants, and as I say, there's been 10,000 applicants, and there's going to be 2,000 be able to participate and to be successful for participating in the scheme. The approach that is going to be taken, this plan to be taken, is an anonymous random selection process, and the assessment is that that's the fairest way to be fair to all artists who have applied. And to have the best possible spread representative of the number of artists that have applied as well. Our objective here is to be fair and equal, give as many people as possible the opportunity to participate. Obviously, there will be different participants, many different participants this time in this scheme compared to the pilot scheme. And the objective is to make sure as many people can avail of the support as possible. But the approach will be that randomised selection process, anonymous as well, to make sure that people have faith in how the selection is being done, and also that everybody has an equal opportunity to be able to benefit from it.